Hi, I'm Ketki,
And I'm Sanaya.
and we're Thinking People. Today we're thinking about Dua Lipa, not the disco revivalist pop artist, but the 21st century celebrity whose career is forging an alternative path to stardom. Who is she? Where does she stand in the pop music landscape? And what does she tell us about fame and life in the 2020s?
Life moves fast. Tune in to think about it.
All right, hello.
Let's start. Okay. Welcome, Ketki, to this very special episode of Thinking People. Are
Thank
you
you.
pumped?
I'm pumped. Can I tell you what I did?
Please
So
do.
actually, I was thinking, like literally 5 minutes before we were gonna start recording, I thought, oh, we should really like record this episode with like a gin and tonic in our hand
Oh my
and
God.
make a drink. But I think it just got too late for me to even tell you that. So I just quickly ended up making like a lime soda because I'm not gonna drink alone. But yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
I-
it does the job. Not really, but still, it's kind of like drinking. You're drinking water.
no,
I'm just,
this is an empty glass.
oh shit.
It's a glass that once held thumbs up in it. I think Dua would approve of
Yeah, I
thumbs up.
think so.
You
I
know,
think so.
it's Coke but slightly spicy.
But yeah, to answer your question, I suppose I am pumped because I felt like having a drink before recording this episode or while recording it.
I absolutely love that. I love that this episode and this thought has inspired you to do this. I think Dua would be proud. Somewhere right now, she is probably sipping on a drink herself and is hiccuping because she knows that we're going to
Yeah.
start talking about her in this podcast episode. But yes, we're talking about Dua Lipa, our August 95 born Leo queen. You
Hell
know,
yes.
I was
Exactly.
I was thinking that we never did our turning 30 episode,
Yeah.
but if we did, she would be a dream guest.
That's so true.
That would be
Oh my
so good.
God.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
she would be amazing.
Maybe we can see, what happens if we just reach out to Dua Lipa. Maybe she'd come on, we still have 5 months to go before we turn 31.
I
And who's to say?
I love
Shoot your
how
shot.
I love how this episode is also inspiring such a level of wishful thinking. But sure, why not? Anything is possible.
I have it on good authority. And that good authority is, I believe, the Hot Ones episode that she did in 2020, that she said that she sometimes reads her fan mail.
Mm,
Okay.
worth a shot.
Anyway, this is a slightly different episode because we have spoken about pop music before and we've spoken about pop musicians before. And while we are speaking about a pop musician today, this episode is not about her music.
Yeah.
This episode is about her entire vibe. And I think a quote of hers that has been on my mind ever since I think you sent me a tweet about this, which is from a Vogue interview that she did, which is up on YouTube, where she's making some food
Negronis.
and a Negroni, and she says, you know, she gets poked fun at for always being on vacation and on holiday. And she said, I'm not always on holiday. I just make everything I do feel like a holiday. And I keep thinking about that
Yeah.
constantly. And it just occurred to me that there is something about the way in which she is moving through this world, not just as a musician, but as a human being, that is utterly fascinating and is worth unpacking, because I think there are some secrets in the way in which she's living
Mm,
that may tell us how to live better ourselves.
yeah.
I feel like that's a tall order.
Yeah.
but I genuinely had this emotion and feeling. And just to set a baseline, I'm not a massive Dua Lipa fan. Okay. What are your thoughts about Dua Lipa, musician?
Same. In fact, to prep for this episode, I kind of went back to listen to her music. I know this is not an episode about her music, but I was just like, to soundtrack the research, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I mean, we will get into this, like who she is as a pop star. Is she a pop star? Is she not a pop star? But her music doesn't inspire a lot of like emotion in me. I think, it's great for what it is. I went back to listen to her first album and actually enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first time that I listened to it. But I think when it's over, it's over. It's done. I don't really think about it beyond that particular moment. And there's some songs that are great. They're perfectly constructed pop songs.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they resonate with me emotionally.
Maybe this theme will come up as we go dive deep into her entire persona and everything around her.
Yeah.
But I had asked you, before we get into the meat of this conversation, I had asked you to list the top 3 things that come to mind when you think of Dua Lipa. And this is before reading up, watching any of her interviews or anything.
Yeah.
So do you have 3 things for me?
I have 3 things for you.
Okay.
So the first thing that I thought of when I thought of Dua Lipa, it's probably going to be an obvious answer given how we started this episode. But I think of a really, really great, unforgettable night out. That was the first thing that came to mind for me, which is just like this idea of just being out in the night. You don't know where it's going to take you, but the prospect of it is exciting. We can get into the details of it, but there is like sort of media that she's put out on her Instagram that makes me feel this way about her. And there are like so many like videos and reels that are circulating about her just having a great time out dancing.
Yeah.
And like she came on this like Stephen Colbert episode where she talked about like how after she's done with like her,
that was the Glastonbury set. Yeah,
exactly. After
partied all night.
And I mean she does it often, in fact, like where after she's done with like her shows, whichever city she's in, she's just like, I take it as an opportunity to like check out whatever like local bar is there, and I have to like, I can't miss that opportunity, and I have to seize every moment. And I think that attitude towards just like being out and about is very refreshing and interesting.
Okay.
The second thing I thought of was Callum Turner. Not in the sense that she's defined by him, but there are a few things that have been built or woven into the lore of Dua Lipa, or like have built the lore of Dua Lipa, and I feel like her relationship is definitely significant.
Oh, you think so?
That it's spoken about in the media, and for me, I think that they're obviously a very attractive, very good-looking couple who seem to be very, very much in love. But I can't remember the last time I was so taken by that. I can't remember the last time celebrity couples have had that kind of impact on me, where I'm just like, wow, I never want them to break up. Like they seem to be in love with this like reckless abandon, like that just doesn't exist. Like that you don't really witness in this way,
Me and who?
Me and who? Exactly. And it just makes me think like what makes us so drawn to people that are so in love and so happy. And I think like, there's like images of like videos of them just sort of dancing together in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris and stuff. And usually I would be the kind of person who would be like, ugh, why are you doing this? But it just seems really genuine and very, very sweet.
Yeah, and it helps that they are as attractive as they are.
Do you know their like meet cute story?
I do know their meet cute story.
Should I recite it for this podcast?
Yes, for people who don't know, please let them know.
And can I say like the reason again that I feel like her relationship is to a degree significant is because people collectively lost their shit when like Callum Turner told this story. I think he was interviewed by the Sunday Times or something, and he essentially said that like him and Dua Lipa met for drinks right before a friend's party, and they sat next to each other and realized that they were reading the same book. And the book is like essentially I think he said to her, I'm reading this book called Trust by Hernan Diaz, and I've just finished the first chapter. And she looked at me and said, I just finished the first chapter too. And so he said, so we're on the same page. What? Are you fucking shitting me? Like
dating apps found dead in a ditch.
Exactly.
Everyone's deleting their dating apps, buying Trust by Hernan Diaz.
I am deleting it as we speak. Like
walking around with it poking out of their tote bags.
I know. Performative Dua Lipa and Callum Turner. Yes, but so
and number three, yes.
Photo dumps. That's the third thing I thought of.
Nice. That was the first thing I thought of. My first note is immaculate photo dumps. I don't think a human being has done it better.
Yeah.
Like,
She's mastered the art form.
I don't know. I don't even, there's like a genius to it, the way she does it. I feel like social media marketers should study her Instagram. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the frequency, the collection of photos,
Yeah.
the captions which don't seem like overwrought or
Yeah.
overthought. And she runs it herself. I think. I mean, she doesn't run
Does she?
it.
Does she? I mean,
She does. It's her own. It's her own voice. It was confirmed in an interview that I think one of her Rolling Stone like feature pieces, her profiles.
right.
She said, yeah, like it was reported that she managed. Like it's not like she's managing it. It's her Instagram account.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's where she posts from.
Yeah.
It's not her artist account. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was number one for me. And then number two, like I said, it's that quote, like everything I do, I make it feel like a holiday.
Hmm.
And number three is interesting because I think this is a confession time for me, which is that I was always, I don't want to say a hater, but someone who didn't understand a lot of the enthusiasm around Dua Lipa in 2020, 2021, around the time Future Nostalgia came out. Because, like you said, I wasn't, blown away by the music or I wasn't drawn to it. I also felt like it was the example that a lot of people who didn't like pop music would give me to say that,
This
yeah,
is good pop music.
this
Yeah.
is good pop music. We have expansive taste. We appreciate good pop music. And they would try and connect with me on that. And I used to find that frustrating. But the third thing is the YouTube comment that followed her around for quite a while. I love her lack of energy. Go, girl, give us nothing.
Oh man.
Yes, I will say that that's the third thing that I thought of. That was before I like dived head first into her entire vibe, career, media presence.
Yeah. And I will say there's been a shift. Like very recently I read this tweet where someone said the person who wrote Go On Girl Give Us Nothing,
Yeah.
Dua Lipa owes her career to him.
Yeah. Maybe,
So,
but
yeah.
but I do think that comment has some like profound wisdom in it,
Hmm.
which I will get to when we get like deeper into the conversation. But let's start at the beginning, I guess. Let's
Yeah.
start at so who is Dua Lipa? And do you think she's a pop star?
Who is she? Man, I think I don't think of her as a pop star. I think like for me, the word pop star carries a lot of like meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess by definition, she is a pop star, but like I would call her a pop artist.
Oh, okay,
and
interesting.
The sort of distinction that
Right.
I make here is that I think I reserve the term pop star
Mhm.
for artists that feel kind of larger than life, and
Right.
where they're so larger than life they almost seem sort of out of touch. And I think that what's central to them feeling like this is sort of their music and artistry, right? Like it stirs something in you emotionally, and I think that really comes through their fandoms. Like a pop star's true power
Yeah.
lies in their fandoms, and Dua Lipa doesn't really have a dedicated fandom or like a stan army, so to
Yeah.
speak.
What would they even be called?
I
The Lippies,
have no idea.
the DLs,
The duos. Do you know
the
the whole like
duos.
Duolingo, Dua?
I'm sure there's a name. They're just not significant enough for
Yeah.
them to be omnipresent.
Yeah. And that's exactly the thing, right? Like I don't know if she holds any kind of real cultural power or influence by way of her pop persona.
Yeah.
I think like how we will speak about her separate to that. And I guess it sort of enmeshes together and stuff, but like maybe there is some other way in which she possibly holds like cultural cachet or power. Actually not even power, cachet, but like I think she doesn't have that kind of power where she's
Yeah.
able to like really band people together. and have them rally for her.
Neither does she seem interested
Yeah,
in
exactly.
galvanizing that.
Exactly. And I think that her music, like what you said, right? Like when people want to give you an example of like a quote unquote good modern pop song, they send you like a Dua Lipa song. And like we were talking about earlier, like I think her music like is very overly glossy and it's kind of like safe. It sort of like stays within that like very safe realm of like pop music. And because of like I wonder if it's like it's just that she hasn't really gone deep enough or into the sort of um like really out of her comfort zone in her artistry, and that's why like she hasn't really been able to like inspire this kind of like fandom and resonance in that way.
Yeah. I feel like I agree with you.
Yeah.
Something that I feel about her as like a pop figure or uh, someone who makes music is that there's no mess about her. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She's not a messy public figure.
100%.
And I feel like a lot of fandom, in the sense that you're describing, follows pop star mess.
Mm.
And it's got a lot to do with having something to defend, having something to fight for.
Mm.
And the truth is, it's not like you can say that Dua Lipa doesn't express herself as much, doesn't dig as deep as other artists do. But the truth is, for other artists, the digging deep is as much a part of their performance. So we don't really know them as well. But there is like a messiness that gets
Yeah.
captured, right?
Mm.
I think that messiness, I was just thinking about it. I'm like, whatever the opposite of brat is,
Oh my God. I had the same thought. Yes.
whatever the opposite of that,
Yeah.
that's like what Dua Lipa is kind
She's
of
the
serving.
anti-brat.
Yeah.
100%.
Even though she's partying all the time, I think
Yeah.
there's like an overlap there, but
Yeah.
it's devoid of like jagged edges.
I actually like I'm so glad you brought this up because I was going to bring it up as well. Like I actually wrote this down. I said she's the anti-brat party girl. Like I love going out to dance. I really like the idea of a night out and what it can bring and the endless possibilities that can come with it and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that like a lot of times the way in which like party culture has been like spoken about in music and media, and especially most recently through Brat, like I loved Brat and I really like the songs and the music, and I feel like if I went to a club and listened to it I would really enjoy myself. But I don't relate to that, like in the sense like for me it's just like I'm on the outside kind of looking in.
Yeah.
But I think the way in which Dua Lipa parties, like that's why I said like it was like the first thing that I thought of.
Yeah.
It's sort of like she's having a good time in a way that I feel like I could have a good time, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Whereas like it feels aspirational to me, but I don't know if the other kinds of party cultures,
Like rave culture.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
don't know if that's really like it's I don't know if I've ever felt taken by it in the same way, you know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was also thinking about this exact thing about her. But, just to answer that question of like, who is Dua Lipa? Is she a pop star? So I guess one thing that is interesting, or I feel like I kind of knew but never paid attention to, is that she is born to Albanian parents who were
Yeah.
Albanian refugees in London. She was born in London, but then she had to move back to Kosovo with her parents when she was 11 years old. And 3 or 4 years later, she said, I want to move back to London. And she convinced her parents to let her move back on her own.
Yeah.
So she completed school on her own and then started her entire music career on her own, which is interesting because I feel like there is a scrappiness to her beginnings that I also don't associate with her, with her persona and her entire brand. But I was thinking about it, and the more you sort of see the things that she's interested in, right? Her newsletter and website, Service 95, her book club in which she interviews all of these authors, right? She does a podcast interview with them.
Yeah.
She has a newsletter as well. Service 95 began as a newsletter. And what I kept thinking of is she's definitely a taste maker. She's definitely someone who is interested in trends.
Yeah.
And all my mind just kept going back to, I'm like, she's kind of like this creative director
Hmm.
who has a ridiculously successful music career.
Hmm.
But the
Yeah.
music career is not the entirety of who she is.
It's a part of her life.
It's
Yeah.
somehow a part of her life. But whenever I was reading all of these profiles of hers, and she was kind of describing the way in which she goes about her day, or the journalists were describing her apartment, all I could keep thinking is, hey, I would love an apartment like that. Or like, yeah, I also make lists of movies I have watched. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I realized, I'm like, oh, this explains so much, because it's like she is a media personality, even in the sense of like a media creator. She's created an entire like website which is curating art and culture. And then
Yeah.
she also happens to be a pop musician.
Yeah. It's like if someone you really liked and was your friend became really successful and got really rich, and they were
Yes.
living their life in a certain kind of way. You
But
know?
the crazy part of this is that she's so successful at the music despite having all of these other interests and this whole other life, that she is still considered like a main pop girl.
Yeah.
Right, in the same conversation as people whose entire life revolves around their music careers, which is, I think, ultimately the thing that is fascinating to me, because all I can think of is, hey, you figured something out about managing this.
So do you think she is a pop star? Like, yes, no?
I could not come to an answer. I think that there are so many things that define like modern pop stardom, as you were saying, like especially rabid fan armies. I think one other thing that I find incredibly fascinating about her is the way in which she has shunned meta narrative and lore. And that's not a part of her music at all. And to some extent, I think that is the reason why a lot of people sometimes think that there's nothing to hold on to in her music, because we're used to that to some extent from literally every other like musician who are spilling their guts in every song, and she, I think, almost pointedly does not do that. So I feel like in that sense maybe she's not what you would think of when you think of a pop star right now, but at the same time, she's selling out stadiums. She's getting, top of the charts album releases. She's won all the awards. Everybody wants to collaborate with her. She was a part of
the whole
Barbie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
she's the brand ambassador of Nespresso.
Yeah.
So I mean, like obviously getting crazy ad deals and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not like she's like some, like alternative artist either. No. She's very much mainstream. In the middle of everything. She's in the thick of everything.
Yeah.
So but I do think she has this other dimension to her, which is the thing that makes it interesting, because I can't think of another person who's primarily a musician who has this completely other facet to them.
Yeah. And I think she seems like, from the outside, obviously, like we don't really know how she really operates, but she doesn't really seem like somebody who's it's not that she isn't ambitious or any of that, but like she doesn't really seem to be worried too much about, I feel like her brand strategy or marketing strategy is not like, definitely not like Taylor, where it's like, I'm really trying to hold on to the charts.
Exactly.
And I'm doing everything in my power to do that. Like, I think she definitely isn't even interested in competing in that way.
There was something that also I remembered when I was preparing for the episode, is when Radical Optimism came out, I don't think it went to number 1. It went to number 2. Oh. And this is after Future Nostalgia, which was the album of lockdown, the album of COVID, right? When you think of COVID, you think of those songs. And you would assume that's a flop, right? Like you're flopping, you're in your flop era. But she posted this Instagram post saying, Radical Optimism is number 2, and like 50 exclamation marks. It's like, she's like, I'm still going to celebrate because it's the number 2 album.
Like, I'm happy to be here. basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, I'm not going to sweat it if I didn't make number one.
Yeah.
So I think that's very unlike people who are chasing that kind of success and that
Mm.
kind of scale.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm glad you mentioned her brand,
Yeah.
because I feel like it's a bit interesting. What do you think her brand is?
I found this like to be a hard question to answer because I don't know if she has a very overtly mm, actually I don't know. I think everything is curated and manicured to some degree in this
Mm,
sort of social media world, but
yeah,
I don't know if it's curated in a sort of like very this is my brand kind of way, like
correct.
I don't know if she has like a PR person like whispering shit in her ear, or she's operating in a way where it's like I must come across as this, and so I'm gonna, I
Mm,
don't know, curate my brand in this way. But by way of how she exists on social media and who she is and everything you just spoke
yeah,
about, I don't know if this is necessarily a brand that you can ascribe, but I think that it is how I would define it, is that it's this like like she's the woman who has it all,
right.
that kind of like I can't really think of anybody else who fits the bill in the same way. Like think about everything, right? She's obviously like incredibly good looking.
Yeah.
She's a really good singer, like incredible voice, successful career, jet setting lifestyle, hot fiance. People routinely saying, "Oh, I love seeing hot people in love." Seems to have really great relationship with her family. Has all these like side hustles where she has like a podcast and like
Yeah.
all of these other things. And it's just like, I think her brand is very much like I'm gonna seize the day and I have this opportunity. It's not possible to live this life without like the resources for it. And I think it's very much like, because I have the resources, I'm gonna double the fuck down and I'm gonna do it really well, and that's like, that is
Yeah.
the energy that I get from her. And like, that is honestly, when I think of Dua Lipa, like that is like sort of the vibe that I get. And that's why I was like, oh, I was excited to talk about this, because I'm like, she like conjures up these like positive feelings, and she makes you feel like
Mm.
I wish I could live like that. Like I want to be living every aspect of my life to the fullest.
It's an attitude and an orientation, and it's got less to do with her glamorous lifestyle.
Yeah,
Like, we
exactly.
could also view our own life the way
Yeah.
she views her life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, I was also scratching my head a little bit, because I do think there is a brand that is forming, which may be an organic one, may
Yeah.
not be a cute, like a, funnily enough, as you said, like maybe curated to an extent, but it's not overly curated, or I don't see a vision board. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I did get a sense that there is something about being cosmopolitan, being cultured and well traveled
Mm.
and well read.
Yeah.
And I think that hovers over everything. It hovers over
100%.
her music as well.
Yeah.
And, this whole, she once announced, not announced, she said in an interview that she wants to learn more languages, right?
Mm.
She has an interest in picking up new languages. And now in the Radical Optimism tour, every venue that she played at, she did like a cover of a song that meant something in that place,
Mm.
right? So she did cover a few Spanish songs. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there is this sense that she is very well rounded. I think is like another way of saying what you said, which is having it all, right? Like a
Yeah.
well rounded, balanced pop star. And what was so interesting? Just yesterday, there is a new interview that she did for Vogue where she was making cocktails inspired by her favorite pop songs. But one of the questions that they asked her was, what does work life balance mean to you?
Yeah.
And I found that so funny that she's doing an interview for Vogue. She's Dua Lipa, and they've inserted this question. And that tells you so much about the way she's perceived, right? Like
Yeah.
what you said, this person who somehow like sorted it all out,
Yeah.
is doing everything, is not drowning in the fame, is not overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? no one knows what her real experience is with any
Yeah.
of this. But
Yeah.
that's definitely the impression that's given.
Yeah.
And have you had the chance to go through Service 95 by any chance?
I caught some snippets of like the Roxanne Gay
Right.
like podcast episode. I haven't really gone through the newsletter or the website and stuff. I wanted to actually listen to a few podcast episodes before this. I didn't get the chance, but I have listened to her very old podcast episode with Penn Badgley. Like this was like a few
Right.
years ago.
Was she on his podcast or was he on hers?
He was on her podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I don't know if what her her podcast is like right now. I haven't really heard it in its
Yeah.
entirety and stuff. I think back then she asked like good questions, but it was very like question answer. Like I don't know if she was necessarily engaging
Yeah.
very much with like what he had to say. And he's obviously like a very like deeply reflective person and
Yep.
offering up like lots of nuggets of wisdom and stuff. And I think like she was just sort of like, that's so great. That's really nice, Pen. And then sort of moved it along, you know, to the next question.
Yeah.
So it was just very like structured in that format. And I remember this from like a few years ago, but I haven't really listened to her new episodes.
So I have listened to the Roxanne Gay episode, which I think was her book recommendation for March, Bad Feminist by Roxanne Gay.
Yeah.
I do believe that it is interesting to me that if any author has a book coming out, this is a stop on the book promotion tour. It has happened. And it's very different from, let's say, Reese Witherspoon's book club.
Yeah.
Because she does have some kind of vested interest because a lot of those books then get like produced into movies by her production company. So there's like a pipeline thing happening over there, which I guess is like, you know, how Americans do it versus how British people do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is a layer here for us to talk about. But yes.
Yeah, 100%. And but Service 95, if you go to the website, so the first time I heard about this was when she introduced it on an episode of Stephen Colbert in 2022. And I remember at that time kind of rolling my eyes at this because she kind of described it as like a global concierge service. And all I could think of is, what is this? It sounds like fluff. What is she saying? And she said that, you know, I am very meticulous. I make a lot of lists. And whenever I travel anywhere, I have extensive lists of the places I've been to, where I've shopped, restaurants, all of those sorts of things. So I want to create like a place where I can share these recommendations. That's how she pitched it at that time. Now, cut to 4 years later, I went to the website, and I think the thing that struck me most about it, I think it's still pretty much what she described it to be, but it has an entire editorial team behind it. It has different types of content that it creates. And I just have to say, everything, even though it's a list, nothing is short form. It's like reminiscent of the blogging internet of the 2000s and the 2010s. I did not see a video anywhere. It's all textual. And she has like content on travel, content on, art, well-being, even social activism. And I think one of their taglines is, this is the world curated for you. So, but I think that she's essentially created like a lifestyle publication. You know what I mean? And I don't know what she has to gain from doing this. She's not selling products or anything. She has a new makeup line, but it's not being marketed on this website. It's not like Gwyneth Paltrow. I mean, it's not like Goop.
Yeah.
It's not like Meghan Markle and her lifestyle brand or attempted lifestyle brand. It's definitely lifestyle. And the only thing I thought is I should look for a list about things to do in Spain. Literally. That was the thing that I thought when I was on that website. Because it seems like a very, very well curated like travel and art blog.
That's
And
amazing. Yeah.
but again, we're talking about a pop star whose side hustle is to just create like
To blog.
like create like a publication.
Yeah.
it has like an entire team.
Yeah.
And I thought, can I apply for a job here? Like I was thinking of things along those lines, and it was very interesting to me. And I do feel like this is more an expression of herself sometimes than her music is.
Yeah, 100%. What do you feel about Dua, the podcast host? Like, what did you feel about the episode with Roxanne K?
I think the thing that I was most struck by is, like, number one, her interviewing skills are quite good. I think she's able to make her guests feel quite comfortable. She's
Yeah.
able to ask very like targeted questions, and she's also able to, summarize for the audience a little bit, right? And the thing that actually is the thing that strikes you is that she has very serious authors come on her podcast. Like she had Margaret Atwood sometime last year,
Crazy.
right? And I don't think there is even like an iota of her being overawed. I suppose she's very polite, very respectful. I think there's a word that kept reappearing in every like profile of hers, which is poise, very polite, right? So she's very like pleasant to speak to. And I did not think any of these authors felt like, why am I stuck here talking to a pop star?
Mm.
There were,
Yeah.
which I again think is a really big deal.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because she's not talking about her own subject matter. She's not talking about music, right?
Yeah.
She's like you and me. Girl has a podcast with monthly episodes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I feel like her podcast, to me, like what you're describing, like is exactly this kind of space where it's like an extension of her, and like for her to be a space where she can just delve in her interests and not have to worry about anything else. You know,
It is just that.
it's
Yeah.
just that's yeah. And I think like it goes back to what we were saying, what you said about like she's a British artist versus like an
Yep.
American artist. Like, and I also think there's like this fundamental difference between Americans and the rest of the world for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like British pop musicians and American pop musicians, wherein I think there's like a lot of like, even it comes through even in their music and artistry. Like take like any big British like musician, right? Like
Yeah.
Paul Simon, the Beatles, whoever, like they have not Paul Simon, sorry, Peter Gabriel, and stuff, and they have like sort of looked out into the world with curiosity, and like that has sort of embellished their music and their art, their tastes, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like I think Dua Lipa has like taste, and that comes through from just having like living a life well, you know.
Right.
That is like a very interesting thing about her. But like it made me think about this other thing, which is that she seems like a fundamentally very likable person, like what you said, right? Like she's very like polite and poised and stuff like that, but everything about her, like you can't dislike her. Like it's almost hard to do so. And like I thought about this when I was thinking about like her jet setting lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like someone like a Taylor gets so much shit for taking private jets.
Yeah.
How do you think Dua Lipa gets around? You know, like come on.
Yeah.
So, but it's just that I think people are more forgiving or don't even really worry about
She's not a polarizing figure.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But you know what's quite interesting to me, and I think this is also this other question that I had wanted us to talk about, which is like, what is her contribution to pop culture, right? Like we're talking about her in these very broad terms, but she's still like a creator. She's, as much as she's a curator, she's also a creator. So where does she kind of sit? And something that stuck out to me from her latest Rolling Stone profile with Britney Spanos, while this is right before Radical Optimism came out. I think this interview is the most revealing interview, and I have learned the most about Dua Lipa from this conversation. Highly recommend that you read it. There are so many great quotes where she's kind of addressing a lot of the things that we're talking about over here, right? Like one of the things she says, I just like to live my life, do my photo dumps, write my songs, and dip. I'm not interested in trying to be controversial or do something for a reaction. That was one thing. And then she said she was talking about how A lot of the Britpop artists, Oasis, Blur, were like touch points for radical optimism. And I think, the journalist sort of said, what do you think about like how they behaved in public, the things that they said? There's a lot of, they were sort of modeling like this picture of some kind of toxicity, right? And in response to that, she says, yeah, there's so much toxicity in the way people wanted their artists or their musicians in the 90s. If they weren't like that, they would have been seen as boring. And I think that's such a bad way to see things. And that stuck out to me because even while I was prepping for this episode, if I was watching an interview of Dua Lipa's, halfway through, my mind would start wandering, because I was getting a bit bored and I used to think that she was like a boring person without a personality, but somewhere I realized that, she's just not performing.
Yeah.
She is just not performing in any of these promotional things.
Yeah.
She is just talking.
Yeah.
And she's not going to say something crazy or say it in a crazy way or, hint at something, drop an Easter egg. Or can you imagine her getting into a beef with someone? Can you imagine her writing like a diss track?
Is this what happens when a well-adjusted person becomes a pop star?
I do think she very often talks about how this is just one of the things that she does. It's her job. She very much does see it as a job. And at the same time, she gets frustrated when people, their takeaway is that she vacations a lot and she relaxes a lot. And she's like, no, I work incredibly hard. And she seems to be someone who's very meticulous. She has like extensive notes. She's also someone who goes back and rewrites and re-edits and really workshops her songs, which I didn't know about because that's not what you get from her persona. But why should I get that from her persona?
Yeah.
Why should she be entering conversations with, I need a takeaway to be that I am really meticulous and I want that to be what people think of when they think of me? I think she's just being a person.
Yeah. 100%.
And I do think that's significant pop culture wise because despite not giving in to all of these pressures, or at least it seems that way on the outside, she's still incredibly successful.
Yeah.
And the thing that I wrote down is this like a mentally sustainable way of being a successful musician.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's still something about her that captures our attention, right? Like you said that if I was to watch an interview with her talking on and on and on, and I feel like I've definitely done this, like where she's been on interviews and I feel like if she's just talking about her art and work and stuff like that, I do zone out. But like that Stephen Colbert episode where she was talking about like going out to a club and bar at like 4 a.m. or till 4 a.m.
Right.
I was like riveted. And I think that the thing that draws us to her and what we're sort of like talking about is this like zest for life. Like it's very infectious.
Yes.
And it sort of like comes through in her aesthetics and like her, whatever she puts out on the internet.
Yeah. I think the Stephen Colbert interview where she introduces Service 95, one of the things she said that did stick with me as well was she said that I love to go out every night when I'm in a new city or a new place because it helps me feel closer to the city.
Yeah.
And all I was thinking was, oh my God, I want to go out right now.
Yeah.
I should feel closer to the city I'm in.
I think she doesn't exist in extremities. And what I mean by that is that like, she's just like, yeah, I really want to go out and get a drink. And I'm like excited about having this drink. Yeah. But, usually with like artists, you sort of see like, I'm sort of, you have a Gwyneth Paltrow kind of person who hasn't eaten bread in like 20 years and is like very extreme about like extremely regimented about their diet and like restricted. Or you have this other extreme of people going all out and like being really into drugs and like, I don't know, like that sort of like wrecking their life because of that.
365 party girls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, sort of like a lot of times like big pop stars or like artists, like sort of like they exist in these extremities, and I feel like she just sort of exists in the middle in
Yeah.
terms of like how her approach to life.
Yeah.
And that is also what makes it accessible or feel accessible in that sense.
Yeah. And again, I feel like that approach has got to do with like a perspective. It's not got to do with
Yeah.
money. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? That
Yeah.
if she says going out makes me feel closer to a city,
Yeah.
anyone can do that.
Yeah.
Anyone can decide to do that.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, I do think that there is like this interesting, like she exists in this interesting place where, because she kind of has a very well adjusted outlook towards her career, she has a lot of boundaries in place, but she's also incredibly hardworking, has this great work ethic. She's still able to like produce
Good work.
enduring music.
Yeah.
And all I could think of is that I don't remember the last time I did go out and did not hear Levitating.
Yeah. Like that song was massive.
A couple of weeks ago, I went out and I did a whole bar hopping thing. Okay, I just hopped from one bar to another, so 2
Yeah.
bars. But the only song that played in both bars was Levitating.
Damn.
And
Yeah.
that song is now 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I need to remind myself that it's that old.
Damn.
That's some achievement.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And sometimes I also wonder that because she's not someone who has like this crazy fan army or a lot of like meta narrative and lore surrounding her, we're not trying to like dissect who a song is about. I sometimes feel like that makes the focus remain on the song itself. So the song can become like a part of the ether.
Yeah.
It need not be tied to a single moment or a single situation. It is an all expansive song. I feel like of the last 6 years, I can't think of another song that has blown up the way it has. Had like a remix with the Shah Rukh Khan song. That was one version that played in the first bar, and the second bar had the regular
song.
Dua Lipa version.
Yeah. And also I love that when she came to perform in India, like she played the Shah Rukh Khan version of the song. Like that's awesome that she did that. But yeah. Yeah. But like what does it all like sort of come down to? Like how would you sort of, what quality would you ascribe to her fame? And what do you think it tells us about like fame in this sort of era?
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about this because I feel like so many times when we talk about any kind of cultural product or any kind of like famous person, there is this sense that there is one way to be big and one way to achieve that kind of scale. It's sort of happening if you think about it as we speak. We're recording on April 16th, April 17th, Olivia Rodrigo's new song comes out, right?
Hell yeah.
We're excited about it, but there's also this undercurrent of she and Louis Patridge have broken up. And that's going to color a lot of the music on this album. And immediately, I think every time there was any news about this new Olivia album, Swifties were just like at the throats of the Olivia fans, saying that this entire album, its description, its themes, its colors, it sounds exactly like Lover. And Olivia can't be original. And I feel like, this is one of those, self-reinforcing things where there is some amount of negativity that is needed to sustain interest, right, in a musician. And I find it fascinating that she has sustained interest without any of that.
Yeah.
Right. And like, have you ever thought about Dua Lipa being overexposed?
No.
She has not left the public eye.
Yeah.
But since she entered it, she has not left.
Yeah. Yeah.
The frequency at which she posts Instagram, like posts and carousels, I want to say is 3 times a week.
Yeah. And you enjoy every single one of them.
And it's one of the most reliable pleasures of our lives. You know that it's coming.
Yeah.
You know that you're going to just like it, and you'll go through every photograph. You know what I mean? But
It's a dopamine hit. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I have to say that, if, let's say, not even someone at Taylor's level, like if Beyonce, okay, both Taylor and Beyonce, if they post anything on Instagram, the entire world of like the Stan internet is going to be shaking.
But I
Right?
will say it's because the way you engage with a Taylor or Beyonce is so all consuming. So
Exactly.
it feels overbearing when they do so much, right? But with Dua, it's like, oh, cool pics, girl. Like, end of story. Like I said, you listen to her song, you enjoy it, and then you never think about it again. That's it.
Exactly. But that's what I mean. Like, there's a different way to just be a famous person.
Yeah.
You don't need to, like, there was this one interview she did where I think the interviewer asked her, is it difficult for you to get around? Do people stop you? Do they come up to you and speak to you? Can it be a bit overwhelming? And she said, no, I usually just step out on my own. And I find that if you don't go around with like a big like entourage, or with this entire like, you know, this line of bodyguards behind you, there's less attention that you draw to
Yeah.
yourself. And people usually are polite and leave you alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can argue that maybe she's not that big of a star, but she's not a small musician by any
No.
stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
No, I mean, but there's been videos of like her bodyguard like whacking people's phones away and stuff. So I guess there's some truth to what she's saying, you know.
Yeah.
But I think in this era, in this age of like internet personalities, I think she is an internet personality to me in a sense, in a very like specific
Yeah.
kind of way. Because I think like, you know, I do think that everything that we do on the internet, every single person, if they're saying like I haven't like curated this, I just like I don't really like no. Everything you put out there, you do it with a certain kind of
Yeah.
intention. There's a thought behind it. You want to perform a certain kind of personality or something. You want to tell the world or
Yeah.
your friends about something about yourself, right? And obviously like we are looking at the show reel of her life.
Yeah.
But there is an art to it, like, and I was actually wondering about this idea of like personality as an art form, like performing your personality as as an art form. And
I see what you mean. Like,
yeah,
she's perfected the art of sharing on social media. Yeah.
by way of photo dump.
Yeah.
you know
I had asked you to tell me how you would go about creating the perfect photo dump. So I think now is as good a time as any to dive straight into it.
and that's exactly like if personality is art, I think photo dumps are the medium. Right?
Yeah.
This is what I feel about
Yeah.
the state of the internet. I i think there is no one good way to construct a photo dump. I think like I genuinely was sitting to think about this, and I hate that this is my answer, but it
Right.
is my answer. I think a photo dump is all about the vibes. You don't post a photo dump so much as you feel it. Okay, like there is no method to it.
Whoa.
Like genuinely, I think I have felt this way also, where it's just like if you look at like a really good photo dump, if you look at Dua Lipa's photo dumps, okay, that's who we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like a picture of her like looking really sexy, then it's a picture of her with her boyfriend, then it's a picture of like martini glasses with like some really nice like appetizers, and then it's like the ocean, and then it's like, and it's just like you're constructing like this story
Yeah.
about like it's like it's a form of visual storytelling.
Yeah.
And in the sense that there's not a lot of like high effort required to tell the story. You just need to kind of, I think you have to also fundamentally be a visual person in
Yeah.
order to create a good photo dump. And I think in this like sort of internet age, we are all by default to some degree like visual people.
Yeah.
And you just have to sort of like, it's like it just sort of comes from within you. It's like, what vibes am I
Yeah.
trying to put out there? And you select pictures accordingly, because they don't have to be like
I think
inherently.
the number one requirement is to take a lot of pictures.
Yeah, 100%. To be the
Yeah.
kind of person who like documents things and like the tiniest of things.
Yeah.
And the photographs in a photo dump don't necessarily have to be like well composed either. It can sometimes they're just like blurry pictures and stuff, but it's a document of like a moment, like just a blip in time, and you're able to tell something through it. I was like thinking about this, and I'm like, there is some fucking like professor who's done a PhD in aesthetics in some like school of social studies in some college somewhere talking about fucking photo dumps. Like, I really think so.
Photo dumps as self-expression. No, I think what you're saying about the vibes is important, because another thing that I guess fascinates me about Dua Lipa is like the just how not self-conscious she is about her Instagram presence. And all I can think of is that I don't think I'll ever be that chill about just posting anything on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
I truly believe that she'll post something and she won't go back to check the notifications. Like, that is the vibe I get from her. And I also wonder about, is there such a thing as posting too much? And I'm like, oh, Dua Lipa doesn't think about this at all. She's like, oh, if I felt like posting something, I posted it. And I haven't posted many photo dumps in my life, but when I have thought about it way too much for it to be a proper dump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.